First, we're going to start with the unbelievable meltdown in the second half by the 76ers. It was a close game going into the halftime, but the 76ers completely disappeared in the second half. Joel Embiid was having a horrible game. Maxey was, normal. James Harden, forget about it. The dude is like the worst choker in the history of elimination games in the history of the NBA. Everybody went out to lunch, did not want to come back and play in the second half because Jason Tatum was just a beast. Record-breaking 51 points, the most in a Game 7 closeout game in the history of the NBA playoffs. And we're going to go directly. But first and foremost, man, there has to be some blame sent around here, and it has to be given equally. Joel Embiid has to get definitely some blame. There's no doubt about this one, right? He does have to get some blame because the fact that Joel Embiid went 5 for 18, 0 for 4 from 3, and dropped 15 points, it was pathetic. It was pathetic. And this is the difference right now between Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic when it comes to centers. His game is definitely what you call a throwback to the 90s, right? Where the center was the centerpiece of the offense. He conducted and commanded all the attention, the most touches. The man can ball. The man can score. But this is where his inability to find other players to hit him when they're open, when he's struggling like this, because he just kept taking shots. He took 18 shots, only made 5. So it's not like he was getting clamped down and not getting guarded. Joel Embiid got his ass kicked in Game 7. The job that Al Horford, all right, and everybody else that took a shot on Embiid, Robert Williams, the Time Lord, everybody that stepped up and D-Up Embiid made him struggle and made him miss. Let's not get that twisted. I know he's the MVP. He deserves the MVP based on the criteria for the MVP, which is the best regular season player. That's what Joel Embiid is. Had a great regular season. Unlike Anthony Davis, and Nikola Jokic, who both had great statistics, even though Davis has been injured, they're still in the hunt and playing to get to the NBA Finals. That's the difference between players like Jokic and Anthony Davis. When they get the ball down low, the ball and the offense flows. Other people are going to get it, and they're going to make plays if their number one option, which is scoring, is shut down by a defender or a team. Difference between Embiid. When Embiid gets it on top, man, Embiid is going to James Harden that joint. He's going to grab that ball. He's going to try to back you down. He doesn't care who's there. Doesn't matter if you double team him. He's a horrible passer. Horrible. He had 1 assist. 1 assist, and he was getting double teamed left and right. So, again, that's the difference. Joel did play a lot better than James Harden in this series, even though James had a couple of 40 points game. But we have to come back to James Harden. To me, one of the greatest choke artists in elimination game. He made 3 field goals, had 5 turnovers. He was nowhere to be found. 9 points, 41 minutes, only took 11 shots, 1 for 5. 7 assists, but 5 turnovers. The man could not find a rhythm whatsoever. But the man had 3 field goals, 9 points, 5 turnovers. In fourth quarter games 5 to 7, according to StatMuse, my man has scored 0 point in the fourth quarter from Game 5 to Game 7. That's 32 minutes of no points when it counts the most. Stuff, man. The dude has skills. He's a great offensive player to watch. But he has not worked in the playoffs. It didn't work with Houston. It didn't work with the Nets. It is not going to work with the 76ers. It is unacceptable to have 0 points in 32 minutes combined of fourth quarter action in the games that matter the most, which are the closeout games. That's what James Harden did in this series. Come at me, but he is the greatest choke artist in the history of this game. I don't care. Come at me. It's probably a bigger choke artist, but right now in this generation, my man James is out to lunch right now and did not come back to the game. He stayed out. He played 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, he decided to take lunch and not come back to work, abandon his job, and take a freaking nap because he was too full. Best freaking analogy. The man walked out on his duties, baby. because he never came back to the fourth quarter in this entire series from not entire series, but from game 5 to 7. That's a pretty sick stat. I mean, if that doesn't define the non-clutchness of a player when it matters the most, then what else does it quantify? What else can you quantify it with? That hasn't been showing up in the fourth quarter. That's it. That's all I need to know as a GM and the type of player this guy is in order for me to build around. It's getting to the point that James Harden is arriving at Carmelo Anthony status. One of the greatest and most prolific scorers in the history of the game. Beautiful to put that ball in that hoop, baby. The man can get it in. All right. So did Carmelo Anthony. Never translated to winning, and never translated to clutch shots or closing moments. Same thing for James Harden. Joel Embiid said that he needs to do better in the post-game, conference. That he has to do better. The team has to step up. You've been there before. We've seen Joel Embiid get bumped and have bad games. The 76ers have a lot of soul searching to do. They have good pieces. I love Maxey. You have to keep Embiid. A talent like that, you got to give him more weapons around that suit more his gameplay. But Embiid needs to step up and how to figure out how to play, how to make others better. I'm not asking him to be Nikola Jokic or Arvydas Sabonis. All right, anybody like that. We're not asking him to be that type of center. But he needs to get others involved when he's getting double teamed and when his game is down the drain and is not working. He's a typical 90s protocol, Shaq-like scoring ability player, right? Where he's unstoppable. But when the man gets stopped, nobody else gets involved. That has to happen. They need to soul search also about James Harden. Do you keep James Harden? You try to trade him. I forget what his contract situation is, but you got to do something about James Harden. And I don't think it's sticking with the 76ers. It's going to count. So there's a lot of questions to be answered by the 76ers and some restructuring because this team right here is not going to cut it next year because Boston is not damn good. That's how good Boston is.